Wisconsin's Morning News.
With the humidity, with the amount of moisture that's going to be in the air, it's going to feel even hotter than that. So the feels like temperature, or the heat index, is going to exceed 100.
Copleen says there won't be much relief even in the lakeside counties because the pavement in urban areas holds more heat. One person dead after a fiery crash in Fond du Lac. Police responded around 3 a.m. this morning near South National Avenue and Denuva Circle. Officers found its SUV fully engulfed in flames after a crash and a person dead in the driver's seat. The driver identified as a 22-year-old man from Fond du Lac. Nobody else was in the car. A new Wisconsin law will remove the personal information of public election workers from public records requests starting July 1st. Attorney for the Wisconsin Elections Commission, Angela Sharp.
It does not apply to any records that are otherwise already public. It only applies to public records requests that are fulfilled after July 1st of this year, and it only requires records custodians to redact personal information from records fulfilled in response to those requests.
Sharp says the move will protect past and current election workers from being harassed. Iran's foreign minister set to meet with top diplomats from Britain, France, and Germany today in Geneva. Here's Ambassador Daniel Marone, permanent representative of Israel to the UN.
We expect the European foreign ministers to take a firm stance vis-a-vis Iran.
President Trump expected to hold another national security meeting today. This comes after he said yesterday he will make a decision on potential U.S. intervention in the Iran-Israel conflict within the next 2 weeks. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt says the president is allowing for the possibility of talks with Iran to play out in the meantime. There's been some concern about gas prices amid rising oil prices related to the ongoing conflict in the Middle East. Here's ABC's Will Reeve.
Right now, the average price of gas is $3.20 a gallon, but AAA says summer gas prices are the lowest they've been in 4 years and 24 cents per gallon less than this time last year.
President Trump says there are too many non-working holidays in America. His post on Truth Social yesterday came on Juneteenth, which marks the very end of slavery in the U.S. and has been celebrated by African Americans since 1866. Trump claimed the number of holidays is costing our country billions of dollars to keep all of these businesses closed. The summer solstice happens tonight. That's when the Earth achieves its maximum tilt toward the sun, making it the longest day of the year in the northern hemisphere and kicking off the official start of summer. The closer you get to the North Pole, the more sunlight you'll get in the evening hours. Why does it always seem like the roads are way rougher when the mercury starts to rise?
It's all because of the temperature change, and when it happens quickly and to the level we're seeing today, it's going to affect the surfaces that have the most exposure to it. Pavement. Buckling is nothing new in Wisconsin. It's something we face every spring and summer. We just have to remember to look a bit further down the road and keep our speeds in check so we aren't caught off guard. And if you do find a pothole or buckle that seems to be extra nasty, you can always go to the local municipality to report it. Milwaukee has an online service request form you can fill out. Debbie Laziga, WTMJ News.
Milwaukee photographers capturing the world's largest music festival.
The Summerfest media team this year is made up of several local concert photographers. They are in charge of capturing memorable moments in their own personal styles. Photographer Anna Olenzak.
A lot of our job is also capturing the sponsors of the event and capturing how people are having fun and cool outfits and activations from the brands that are around here. Tonight I'm shooting Natasha Bedingfield and Allie and AJ, which have been some of my favorite artists since I was in high school.
Summerfest runs every weekend through July 5th. Elizabeth Linton in WTMJ News.
Time for news about your money in the WTMJ Annex Wealth Management Market Update. Right now, the Dow is up 18 points. The Nasdaq down 149. The S&P 500 is down 18. Financial planning at every level. Annex Comprehensive Wealth, Annex Private Client, Annex Ignite. Details at annexwealth.com. Sports, traffic, and weather are next. Outdoor Living Unlimited, WTMJ News Time, 10:04.
When people think sleep apnea, they think CPAP. Now at Advent, we do all we can to help sleep apnea sufferers avoid the CPAP machine. And most sleep apnea sufferers who come to Advent are going to be able to avoid a CPAP altogether. Our unique Advent approach using simple in-office solutions can get your nose working and throat open all under one roof. You see, the root of every snoring and obstructive sleep apnea problem lies within the throat, nose, or both. At Advent, we know when we get the nose and throat working properly, most snoring and sleep apnea problems will subside. And we have the most simple and convenient, ultra-effective in-office solutions that can do just that. And this is why people have traveled by planes, trains, and automobiles from corners of the world you would never think of to find the sleep apnea and snoring relief you won't find elsewhere.
Go to adventknows.com to schedule your appointment because Advent knows when you breathe well, you live better.
AdventKnows.com.
Most insurance accepted.
Visit family-owned Ken Michaels Furniture and our in-store design centers where you'll still find beautiful, luxurious, heirloom-quality American-made furniture. Right now, save 30 to 35% store-wide and take advantage of our complimentary design services. Whether you're moving, renovating, or updating, our designers will help your vision become a reality. Visit Ken Michaels Furniture in Brookfield on Capitol Drive and in Greenfield on Highway 100 to save 30 to 35% store-wide today. Sleep better and save more with mattresses from Milwaukee Mattress and Ken Michaels Furniture. Handcrafted in our Milwaukee factory, our mattresses utilize natural materials like cotton cushioning, which dissipates body heat, Joma wool quilts for warm wintry nights and cool summer evenings, and natural latex providing superior conformability and pressure relief for aching joints. Stop in today at any Ken Michaels Furniture store and save up to 50% compared to national brands.
Time for a WTMJ Sports Update from the Gruber Law Office's One Call That's All Sports Desk. Brewers edge the Cubs 8-7 from Wrigley. Milwaukee's won 2 of the last 3 games. Brew Crew back in action tonight against the Twins for the first of 3 games from Minneapolis. There will be a Game 7 in the NBA Finals. The Indiana Pacers took down the Oklahoma City Thunder 108-91 in a win-or-go-home Game 6 in Indianapolis. Taking a look at the roads now with your WTMJ Time Saver traffic. We have a new crash. This is blocking the right lane. It's going to be on the ramp from I-43 South to I-94 West. There was a crash I-94 West at the ramp from 84th Street. Left shoulder there was blocked. It looks like that has been cleared off. Here's your WTMJ 5-day forecast. An extreme heat warning from noon tomorrow till 7 p.m. Monday for Milwaukee, Racine, and Kenosha counties. Heat advisory from noon till 7 p.m. Monday for the rest of southeastern Wisconsin. Sunshine later today with a high of 83. Partly cloudy, warm, humid overnight with a low 72. Sunny, breezy, hot, humid tomorrow. High 94. Heat index near 105. Pretty much the same for Sunday with the high up to 96 and the heat index again near 105. Partly cloudy, hot, and humid on Monday. Slight chance of thunderstorms. High 94. Heat index near 100. Then a chance of storms Tuesday. Partly cloudy with a high of 83. Right now 70 in Madison, 67 in Green Bay, and 72 in Milwaukee. I'm Connie Weber. Outdoor Living Unlimited, WTMJ News Time, 10:08.
Broadcasting live from the Annex Wealth Management Studios at the Avenue. It's time for Point Taken. Here's Tracy Johnson.
Welcome to this Friday morning. I'm Tracy Johnson. This is my first time on Point Taken. Last time I was here, it was still the Political Power Hour. And it feels like it's the Political Power Hour, right?
Different time, a little different energy. I don't know.
Different start to the day.
We still have fun.
We do.
We still have fun. And 10 o'clock, there's so much news that happens between, now, or 7 o'clock and 10 o'clock for this show. So we're
excited to be with you.
We're going to get right to it. All
we
right.
haven't been in the studio much. My friend here has been running for chairman of the Democratic Party. And
so much for that idea.
Like the DNC, they made the wrong decision and picked the other guy.
I guess we're going to talk about the DNC later.
I think we are.
All right. Well, we got a lot to get to on today's show, but let's start with kind of the evolving news of the hour and of the week here with the Wisconsin state budget. All right. You've described it, Bill, as a word that we can't say on the radio.
Yeah. Some kind of show.
It starts with an S.
So what's happening here? We've got a June 30th deadline. That's the self-imposed deadline for the state of Wisconsin to pass a state budget. What's going on here? Because right now they've canceled meetings, joint finance isn't talking to one another, the governor and the legislature aren't speaking. What's going on?
Few things. Since Governor Evers won in 2018, we've had a Democratic governor, a Republican legislature, and they have largely passed the state budget on or about the 4th of July. And Governor Evers, to his credit, has signed it within 2 weeks, 3 times in a row. That will not be the case this time. Part of it is the shrinking majorities that the Republicans now have. They have 54 seats in the Assembly and only 18 in the Senate. You need 17 to pass a bill in the Senate. You need 50 to pass a bill in the Assembly. This week, State Senator Chris Kapping, who I know and I like, he said, well, the Senate should not pass any budget. That is a mistake, and let me explain why. They would be the Senate Republicans would be the first caucus in history to either be unwilling or unable to pass a budget. That makes zero sense for their members who are up in 2026. It puts them at significant risk, and they're already at significant risk. So here's what I think is going to happen. I think by early next week, Speaker Robin Vos will say, the Finance Committee is done. I am now appointing an Assembly Finance Committee, and we're going to pass our own budget. And frankly, that's the right thing for him to do at this point in time. His number one job is to protect his majority and protect all of his members. He's got a lot of members in districts that are swing seats now under the new maps. And waiting for the Senate to get to some place where they might be able to agree, his guys will have to give something up in that process. So Robin Vos is a very, very smart guy. He will make sure his guys get a vote on a budget that they can actually run on in 2026. And as soon as he does that, he will pass a conference committee resolution and he'll leave. And he'll say, Senate, it's up to you. If I'm Devin LeMahieu, what I do is I pass an Ozempic budget. I pass the skinniest budget I can that will get me 17 Republican votes and then agree to the conference committee. And then it's going to take a few months to hash it out. But it's the only way both caucuses can get what they want. If the Senate Republicans truly want to have a cost-cutting budget, then do it. Do it in public. Pass that bill. Make that your position. For some of them, it's going to be very difficult to run on. I can guarantee you that. But pass a position. The behind-the-scenes, closed-door stuff, I think, is over, and I think you're going to see Vos make a move on early next week.
So why wouldn't the Senate try to engage the Democrats? I mean, that has been a big talking point that we're not going to engage the Democrats. Why wouldn't you try to do that?
Well, I think they're going to be a part of this process at some time, and I want to bring Joe into this, but once they get to a conference committee, I'm not sure Devin LeMahieu can get 17 Republican votes for something they could agree to. They will have different positions. Robin Vos's caucus probably will have different views on some school items, maybe even on higher education, maybe on corrections than the Senate Republicans will. So to work those out, it's a plus-minus thing. It's always about the math. What will get me to 17 in the Senate? What will get me to 50 in the Assembly? And Vos will keep his eye on the prize. I think he's had significant discussions with the East Wing, which is the governor's office, about things that they might be able to agree to. And I'll finish with this and turn it over to my friend Joe. The governor's complicated this to a point because he has theoretically had some big agreements with the legislature in the past that he didn't honor, in their opinion. Whether it's on shared revenue or literacy or school aids, where he did the 400-year veto. Those are things where Republicans thought they had a handshake agreement with him, and he didn't honor those agreements. So that's part of what's complicating this process, too.
I want to take a step back because 6 months ago when we had this conversation, one of the things we talked about was the $4 billion surplus. And our analysis then was that leaves a lot of room to make grand bargains, right?
Should.
And, right? Like, in theory, that is a big enough surplus to do a tax cut and give some of that money back to taxpayers, to invest in education, to invest in Republican priorities. And the idea that we are now, 10 days away from the deadline, which, this is not the federal government. What would happen if the budget doesn't pass by June 30 is the last 2-year budget just continues at those dollar levels.
Correct.
So it's not like there's a government shutdown. But what has changed? We have, narrower majorities for Republicans. Right. And that surplus is still sitting there. I think it is fair to say that this is politics. A lot of this is posturing, and Republicans are facing a scenario they haven't in a long time, which is a genuine threat of becoming a minority party in the legislature.
Yep.
And I think they're a little freaked out and don't know what to do. I think you have to look at what's happening nationally as part of this, because the budget reconciliation that's going through Congress can impact in big ways the state budget, especially if things like the Medicaid cuts go through. And so this is, in retrospect, surprising that we're here, but you can almost count on Republicans to try to play politics. And I think, the posturing of like walking away from, negotiations with the governor, pulling down the joint finance vote yesterday, it doesn't look great. They're not standing on strong ground as far as I can see.
They can get over it as long as they both pass a budget, right? I think not passing a budget is a gigantic mistake. And for Kapiga himself, it makes him irrelevant. Why would you take yourself out of the process? If you want to fight for X, Y, and Z, and in his case, I think it's lower spending, smaller government. If you've already said I'm no matter what, your colleagues don't care what you have to say, right? You are not a factor anymore.
You're
So why would-
self-selected out of the process.
Yeah, why would you take yourself out of the process?
So who's going to get the blame as this continues to stall? Right now, I feel like the Senate's really the one that is holding the cards, and it will be blamed. But
The Senate's got the biggest bullseye on him for sure. Because, again, I think Robin Vos will pass a budget. If he can get a bill, I think he will pass it by next Friday out of the Assembly or maybe Saturday. But then it's going to take 7 to 10 days to draft the bill. So that all automatically pushes it outside the 4th of July.
so is there any scenario where this is not good for Governor Evers? I feel like everything's kind of lining up that he's either going to pass a budget that has a tax cut or uses the budget surplus in an effective way.
There will be tax relief in this budget.
No question.
Full stop.
That's good.
Yeah.
I frankly don't care who gets it passed if there's tax relief for taxpayers.
I think there's a gentleman's agreement on what the parameters of that would look like.
Yeah,
Now,
I think
is
it's
that
the
in
rest
both
of
bills?
it.
We'll
that
see.
is- Yeah.
All right. A lot happening at the state level. When we come back, we're going to talk about the UW dispute. And I believe that was kind of at the root of
That's
some
kind
of
of in the mix here. Yeah.
Just a bit. We are here on Point Taken. I'm Tracy Johnson in for Steve and Kristen. Wow, it's like a 1 for 2 or a 2 for 1. I'm a Gemini, so sometimes I'm 2 people at once. We're here with Bill McCoshen and Joe Zapecki. Point Taken 1016.
When a crane collapsed during construction of a Major League sports stadium, 3 workers lost their lives. Their widows called us. When maintenance workers were permanently injured by an industrial accident at a public utilities power plant, the 7 injured workers called us. When a factory exploded, injuring dozens of workers, 18 victims, including all 3 families of men who lost their lives, called us. Because Wisconsinites know who to call when it's a must-win scenario. They call Habish, Habish & Rotier. National reputation, hometown service.
Who doesn't need a seasonal wardrobe update? But who has the cash to always keep their wardrobe updated? Ladies, that's why you shop St. Vincent de Paul. Our women's clothing is always a highlight of our stores, and thrift store prices keep the costs low. It allows you to experiment and also find a hidden gem. St. Vincent de Paul thrift stores on Highway 100 in Layton and Greenfield, 23rd in Lincoln, and 76th and Bradley Road in Milwaukee.
You're gonna love it, St. Vincent de Paul.
We see you out there, building a life you love, knowing that when inspiration strikes, nothing should get in your way. At Blaine's, we're here to help with everything you need to make it happen at prices that make it possible. Like $80 off 192-piece DeWalt Mechanics tool sets, Milwaukee job site backpacks $89.99, Little Giant rubber utility mats 15% off. Plus, we offer Blaine's best price promise, guaranteeing the lowest price with us or we'll match it. Blaine's Farm and Fleet. Be an original.
Brew Crew Tuesdays are back on June 24th.
Churio sends it deep to left, and there she goes.
Catch the Brewers on local TV as they take on the Pittsburgh Pirates.
And Yelich launches one deep right center field. Forget about it. Oh, my goodness. Third down.
This edition of Brew Crew Tuesdays is presented by Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. Tune in June 24th at 6:40 on Fox 6 in Milwaukee, or check your local listings to watch the game.
Welcome back on Point Taken. Jazz with the, is this Dancing Queen or like the yacht rock version of Dancing Queen?
This is Arcade Fire everything now.
Okay. Shows you how good I am.
Just as long as she doesn't play I'm a Loser Baby by Beck. Ooh. That would sting a little bit, Jazz. I'm watching you.
All right. Welcome back to the Friday show, the Friday edition of Point Taken. So Steve is still, he's
overseas. Scotland, I believe.
Bar
Saw him
hopping.
with beers in front of him yesterday. He posted something with 4 different beers.
Every picture.
Must be nice.
Yeah.
Must be nice.
This is
But he
something to
still
aspire
looks
to,
svelte, so he
to
hasn't
be a
had too
world
many.
traveler like Steve Scavidi.
All right. So back to some of the state issues. The UW funding is a big topic of conversation. And I know I've been involved in a number of coalitions that are really advocating for increased funding in UW, touting the economic impact, the research impact. But that's not what the state legislature is looking to do here.
No, Republicans are now proposing a cut, not just a cost to continue.
$87 million cut.
Cutting $87 million from the UW system. You just alluded to it. The multiplier effect and the economic impact of every dollar you spend through the UW is money well spent. About as smart an investment as the state can make in terms of the economic impact. I think this is pretty straightforward, which is Republicans are seeing Donald Trump go after universities nationally and seeing that the far-right base is responding well to that and going, hey, maybe we can get some of that action here too. I think it's incredibly short-sighted. It's just dumb. Like, why would we roll back investments in our, like, crown jewel of Wisconsin, which is the UW system? And I just don't get it. And because the impact, where's the impact going to go? It's going to mean college costs more for the families that are going already. I thought we were in a inflationary crisis, and everybody was worried about spending too much for too many things. And on issue after issue, it looks like the Republicans are happy to pass more cost onto the people living their lives.
But is there a scenario where there's something beneath those cuts where perhaps the legislature is trying to
they already did away with DEI, so what's left?
But you've still got state institutions that are closing, and so are they trying to reconfigure the way that the UW system as a whole is funded? I sincerely ask that question because there seems to be a disconnect between, like you said, Joe, cutting money for the state's most successful institution.
I think there's quite a bit of political risk here. I'd be surprised if they actually cut when they come to the table on this. And if I'm right and they actually bifurcate the budget, I don't imagine that the Assembly will. But the Senate has some significant risk here because they have members like Howard Markline, who not only represent UW-Platteville, but in his new district, he comes up into Dane County, which is a lot of UW employees, a lot of state employees, a lot of city-county employees. I mean, those are things that you got to consider at this point is, how do I best protect my members? I don't know. I think this all started at the wrong point when the governor recommended $800 million increase for them. And he did that last summer. He did it at the State Fair Park Building Commission meeting last summer. He said, I would support $800 million increase. And then when he introduced his budget in February, that's exactly the number. That was unrealistic from the jump. And honestly, the biggest problem I have with it is they never defined what the need was. What will that money do if we invest that kind of, which would have been one of the largest increases in the state budget? What will we get for that?
Wasn't part of that still like the engineering building? Or
that was in the capital
there's
budget.
Two separate parts. That's a good question. There's a capital budget, and the UW is and always will be the biggest beneficiary of that. That's the fund where they build buildings on campuses, whether it's improving the health building here at UW-Milwaukee or the chemistry building just a few years ago in Madison or the health sciences building in Eau Claire in the last biennial budget. That's a separate budget, and that will come. It'll happen around the same time, and that will be funded, I believe. Although there are some in the Republican caucus in the Senate who want zero in the capital budget. That's only happened one time in history when Scott Walker was governor, and it wasn't a great idea at that time. So I'm not sure how much they're going to get. I don't think they're going to get cut because I think it's hard for Republicans to defend that in 26.
So when we talk about the reforms potentially to the size of the institution, it's no secret that we have a shrinking population. But is there an opportunity, like I said, to kind of look at the other assets throughout the UW system and apply some of those dollars throughout the state?
I think things have changed where people are more open to consolidation. Right? Even if you're UW Richland Center, you wanted that facility to remain in your community for a variety of different reasons. But people around there and throughout the state say, yeah, do we really need a facility for 78 kids? Probably not.
Go after those UW extensions, and that's when you start getting into the heart of Republican
It
turf
is in Republican
state,
turf,
and
for
that's
sure.
going to be felt.
But I think with declining enrollment overall and a lower birth rate overall, at some point in time, the hard decisions are going to have to be made.
So what's the timing on this getting solved? Because
not by June 30th.
Not by, it could be Labor Day.
All right, you heard it here. You're making bold predictions, Bill. I appreciate that. All right, on Point Taken, I'm Tracy Johnson in with Bill McCoshen and Joe Zepecki. We'll be back with more after the break.
What if you could lose up to 1 pound of fat every single day? At Milwaukee Weight Loss, they've got the secret, and it's helping people shed serious weight fast. Hey, it's Steve Scafidi from WTMJ. I've been on the Milwaukee Weight Loss program since January and currently in the maintenance phase after losing, get this, 40 pounds. It was fast, easy, and safe, and I'm sticking with the incredible team at Milwaukee Weight Loss to keep the weight off. Their doctor-developed, easy-to-follow program helps people lose weight naturally and safely with no drugs, no risky injections, no meal kits, no shakes, no exercise required. It's not just about losing weight. It's about resetting your metabolism to keep it off for good with personal coaching every step of the way. And guess what? Their program costs up to half as much and works up to twice as fast as most other programs. Many clients lose 20 to 30 pounds in just a month or two, up to 1 pound of fat a day. Book your free consultation now at MilwaukeeWeightLoss.com or call 262-449-1180. That's MilwaukeeWeightLoss.com.
How do we keep our prices so low? That's easy. We've removed the middlemen. Yep, most landscape suppliers have a couple of them in there, and that's okay. But each one of those men in the middle means a higher cost for your mulch, decorative stone, flagstone, and boulders. Feel free to check around. For the quality of our products, you won't find better prices. Erickson's Landscape Supply. High-quality mulch and stone for a whole lot less. Commercial or residential, visit ericksonslandscapesupply.com to see our entire selection. You know, most mulch is reclaimed from landfills, but Erickson's mulch is ground from whole trees. Yep, we process the mulch ourselves to keep the prices nice and low, and use only premium colorant so the beautiful look of new mulch lasts. At Erickson's, we never skimp, and that's why first-time shoppers become repeat customers. Erickson's Landscape Supply. High-quality mulch and stone for a whole lot less. Commercial or residential, visit ericksonslandscapesupply.com to see our entire selection.
$1 doesn't buy much unless you're spending it at Griffin. For just $1 over cost, you can buy brand new tires from us. This is Jim Griffin. Any major brand, $1 over our cost with free tire repair and lifetime rotation. We'll even show you the invoice to prove it. Our only requirements, we put them on for you. Buy one or the whole set. The dollar deal from Griffin. Milwaukee, Waukesha, Fort Atkinson, and Jefferson. Griffin. The buck stops here. The deals on tires don't. That's Griffin.
Not combinable with other tire offers. Get the help you need Saturday morning with How To Radio. At 7, it's the WTMJ Fix-It Show with David Nason, featuring this week's guests, Gaydish Foundation and CertaPro Painters. At 9, plan your dream vacation with the Fox World Travel Show. And at 10, get financial guidance during Money Talk. Contact Annex Wealth Management for an unbiased review of your investments at annexwealth.com. How To Radio, Saturday mornings on WTMJ.
Welcome back on WTMJ. I'm Tracy Johnson in for Steve and Kristen on this Friday with Bill and Joe. We got a short segment here, but I'm going to wind it up and then let you go. Here's the question. Is the DNC broken?
No, it's no.
Or broke.
Or broke.
Broker than broken. I don't know that makes sense anywhere but inside of my head. Democratic donors have fair questions to ask in the wake of the loss to Donald Trump last November, and I believe that process is taking time. I think some of the internal drama and food fighting within the DNC with the David Hogue situation, who was a vice chair, he's not anymore. He's trying to raise money to take out safe seat Democratic incumbents in Congress who are perhaps a little long in the tooth. That, I think, is distracting from the work that Ken Martin has, which is to re-engage that big donor base. That will happen. There is just no scenario in which Democrats don't have the resources we need to run an aggressive campaign to take back the House next year and possibly to try and eke out a Senate win. The Senate map is really, really tough for Democrats, but crazier things have happened in the last 26 years in our politics. So I'm not going to say this is much ado about nothing, but I'm not surprised that donors have not yet fully re-entered the fray when they see so much mobilization and activity that hasn't cost a lot of money with things like the No Kings protest over the weekend. It will all be fine. I'm not, breaking glass in case of emergency.
Well, but the report suggests that the DNC is borrowing cash from other places and
they're considering
they're
it.
broke.
Yeah. So I would say, in my opinion, Ken Martin has been an abject failure as chairman of the DNC. And I said at the time they made a mistake by not picking Ben Wickler. I believe the number one priority for any chairman, whether it's a national or state chairman, is being able to raise money. Right now, the Democrats have no money and they have no message. That falls on Ken Martin. And then when two of his lieutenants get taken out after they were duly elected at their January meeting, it makes the party look like they're in disarray. I don't think Ken Martin's going to survive this. We'll see if he makes it all the way to 2026, but don't be surprised if there's a change at the top sometime in 2025.
No money, no message, no momentum, I would argue.
I would disagree with that.
Well, how do you get everybody lined up?
Because in the special elections that have been held, and there were more in the last 2 weeks or so, Democrats overperformed in like 15 of the 16 of them.
That's fair.
Right? I always say polling is noise, elections are signal, and there is a response to what we're seeing out of Washington and Trump uncaged that is going to be to Democrats'
You
benefit.
make such a great point because Wisconsin is an outlier on the national level, right? I mean, Democrats have done very, very well here in Wisconsin. So it's
in large measure because of Wickler. He's been able to raise the resources they need to fund their message and their organization, which are the other two key components of the MOM formula.
All right, more great insights when we come back. But right now, ABC News and headlines are next.
ABC News, I'm Wayne Cabot. Summer arrives today with instant swelter. More than 100 million Americans, about a third of the population, will be suffering under extreme heat today in the central U.S., Sunday into Monday in the east, like New York.
The feel-like temperatures could hit 105 degrees in many parts of our state.
Governor Kathy Hochul reminding us that heat is the #1 cause of weather deaths. The summer will bring much traffic, especially on the 4th.
AAA predicting an all-time record number of people, over 72 million venturing at least 50 miles from home, with a record 5.84 million flying to their destination. That's up almost 1.5% from the same period last year.
ABC's Will Reeve. President Trump is heading to his Bedminster golf course today after a security briefing on Israel's war against Iran. Iran is in Geneva right now meeting with European leaders as both sides maintain their missile attacks on each other. This is ABC News.
Outdoor Living Unlimited, WTMJ News Time, 10:31. I'm Connie Weber. Chairman of the Chestertown Board in rural Waupun has been arrested over the death of a dog in Dodge County. Richard Van Buren's not been formally charged, but there's been public outcry over an incident Tuesday evening that left a golden retriever dead. Dodge County Sheriff Dale Schmidt isn't releasing further information until court documents have been officially filed. He also warns against threatening comments made by some community members over the incident on social media. Teenager sentenced to 15 years in prison, another 10 years of supervision for hitting and killing a woman during a car theft in 2021. Jaden Adams is 16 now, but he was 13 at the time when he was driving a car that hit 47-year-old Sunita Balagon while trying to steal her SUV in Wauwatosa. An office in downtown Milwaukee moving forward with renovating its space into 33 new apartments. The 10-story building at 225 East Mason Street, owned by the Mac Group, Inc., submitted its plans for the new luxury apartments to the City Department of Neighborhood Services. Journal Sentinel reports the group plans to create 19 one-bedroom units, 10 studio units, 3 two-bedroom loft units, and a one-bedroom loft unit out of the 30,800 square foot building. Here's the WTMJ Annex Wealth Management Market Update. Dow is up 119 points at 42,291. The Nasdaq is down 74 at 19,472. S&P 500 is down a point at 5,979. Financial planning at every level. Annex Comprehensive Wealth, Annex Private Client, Annex Ignite. Details at annexwealth.com. Taking a look at the roads now with your WTMJ Time Saver traffic. We do have a crash that is causing some delays. It's going to be on the ramp from I-43 South to 94 West. It is blocking the right lane, so there is some slowing in that area. I-94 East, about a third of a mile beyond the ramp from 84th Street. The right shoulder there is blocked due to a broken down vehicle. Here's your WTMJ 5-day forecast. Extreme heat warning from noon Saturday until 7 p.m. Monday for Milwaukee, Racine, and Kenosha counties. The heat advisory for the rest of southeastern Wisconsin during that time period, noon Saturday till 7 p.m. Monday. Sunshine later today with a high of 83. Partly cloudy, warm, humid overnight with a low 72. Tomorrow and Sunday, we've got sunny conditions, breezy, hot, and humid. High Saturday, 94. High Sunday, 96. Heat index both days near 105. Monday, partly cloudy, hot and humid, slight chance of thunderstorms later on with a high 94 and a heat index around 100. Chance of storms Tuesday, partly cloudy and 83. 70 in Madison, 67 in Green Bay, 72 in Milwaukee. I'm Connie Weber. Outdoor Living Unlimited, WTMJ News Time, 1034.
Are you worried about running out of money in retirement? Wondering about how to pay less taxes? Join me, Tony Drake, for the Retirement Ready Show live every Saturday at noon and Sunday at 7 a.m. on WTMJ 620 or 103.3 FM. We'll talk about smart strategies to help you retire with confidence. Don't miss it.
Drake & Associates LLC is an independent investment advisory firm that offers a variety of different investment vehicles. This commercial is provided for informational purposes only and should not be construed as individual investment advice. Drake & Associates LLC does not provide legal or tax advice. Past performance is not indicative of future performance.
Welcome back to Ask Hassles.
How do you get pee out of an old mattress?
By trading in that old mattress for a new Beauty Rest or Sealy Posturepedic.
But that'll cost a lot of money.
Not at Hassles Mattress. Through Monday, trade in your old mattress and get additional savings of $248 off a queen and $348 off a king. Plus, next day delivery and haul away of the old mattress for pee.
What was that?
Sorry, I meant for free.
Sure you did.
Open 9 to 9. Find an employee-free showroom near you at Hassles.com.
Dan, what are you doing?
Taking a closet for a test drive.
A test drive?
Here at Inspired Closets, we have our own cutting-edge immersive design experience.
That's right. Envisioned by Inspired Closets uses AR technology that's sort of like test driving a car.
Virtually walk into your custom closet at scale before anything is even built.
You can even make changes in real time, so your environment will adapt to any design revisions you make in that moment.
Get started today at InspiredClosetsMilwaukee.com.
Inspired Closets, a wife and husband team.
Hey, Wisconsin, it's construction season, and the Wisconsin DOT wants to help you safely navigate work zones in your area. Check 511wi.gov or download the free 511 app to see current road work, closures, detours, and camera views on your route. Wherever your travels take you, know before you go with 511wi.gov. That's 511wi.gov. And remember, know before you go. Always park the phone while driving. Sponsored by the Wisconsin DOT.
Welcome back on WTMJ. To the Point Taken show. I'm Tracy Johnson, in for Steve and Kristen on this Friday. We are joined in studio, as we always are, by Joe Zepecki and Bill McCoshen. Let's talk.
Not always.
Yeah,
the last couple of months.
My attendance has been better than yours, Bill. And,
Yeah,
and I had a better excuse than you the last 2 months.
I was working. That's not a bad excuse.
I feel like every time I'm here, you guys are in person. I appreciate that.
Huh? Maybe we like you more than Steve
You bring
and
out the
Kristen.
best in us.
I appreciate that. All right. So we've got a big, beautiful bill happening right now in D.C. Is that the
Only
BBB?
one of those words is true. It is a bill.
It's a bill.
It's
Okay.
actually massive.
What are the Democrats
It's actually
calling it?
massive, and it's not beautiful.
Massive, ugly bill. I feel like they're kind of twisting the word. I don't know. So, but how smart of him to just call it that. And like literally that's what
I listened
it's
to
called.
a focus group this week of Biden to Trump switchers. They are not a fan of this bill.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, let's talk about this. So the president had a goal of getting this passed by July 4th, 1 year ahead of the country's 250th birthday.
Yeah.
So is this going to happen? It's past Congress, but it's in the Senate. There's a theme here, right?
Yeah.
So what's happening right now, and are we going to see this passed before July 4th?
I still think there's a chance. The Senate will mark up a bill starting on Monday or Tuesday that will reduce the spending and increase the cuts that the House has already passed. Now, the question is if they can get that over the line. And with a reconciliation bill, you only need 50 plus the vice president or 51. If they can get it over the line, and I think that they can, then does the House just concur in that version, or is there a conference committee? And that's what could sort of slow down the July 4th deadline. I still think it's possible. I expect them to reduce or fully eliminate the SALT deduction, state and local tax, that primarily benefits blue states. The current law, it's at $10,000 you can claim. Republicans in the House jacked it up to $40,000 for a couple New York congressmen and a couple California congressmen who are in bluer districts. The Senate's not going to go along with that. So one option is for them to zero it out, and that's, $350 billion. It's a real number. So I do think that the Senate will have a bill done by next Friday. The question will be, does the House concur in that, or do they go to a quick conference committee and try and resolve it by the 4th of July?
I mean, Josh Hawley is saying with the Medicaid language in the Senate bill, House Republicans are already telling him that this can't pass. So Hawley's point is, why would the Senate pass something that the House can't pass?
Right, 100%.
And that would mean you have to go to conference, and it's not like these are small issues.
No.
So the problem is you've got, whether it's Rand Paul or Ron Johnson or Josh Hawley or Lisa Murkowski and Susan Collins, I kind of put them together. You've got 4 different sort of blocks of Republican members of the Senate who are opposed to the bill in its current form for different reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Now, can they retreat from saying they're no? Of course. They do it all the time.
Oh, yeah.
But it's a real, Gordian knot of, if you make a change to get Murkowski and Collins, it makes it harder to get Ron Johnson. If you do what Ron Johnson wants, it makes it harder to get Josh Hawley. And all of it makes the House Republican Conference have real concerns. And they already had Massey against, which means I believe that it passed by 2 votes.
It did.
And so they can only lose 2 more.
They had a couple switchers, like Don Bacon.
This is far from done. And what people need to understand is the politics for this are a nightmare for Republicans, because the easiest thing to convince voters of is something they already think about a political party. This is a massive tax cut for billionaires, and it is a very easy story to tell that the way they are paying for that handout for the Jeff Bezoses and Elon Musks and Mark Zuckerbergs is to kick 16 million people off of healthcare. Now, even if you're somebody who's kind of a jerk when it comes to healthcare, you know what happens when you kick 16 million people off healthcare? Everyone else's healthcare costs more, because those 16 million people still need healthcare services. It's just uncompensated care that we all end up paying for.
But from a communication standpoint, I think the larger message is, if this doesn't get passed, not only will some people's health care be affected, but everybody is going to end up with a huge tax increase. So, my bigger question, though, has to do with what you said about like a Ron Johnson or a Lisa Murkowski. The bigger question is about the deficit. And those guys are saying this bloats the deficit.
Yeah.
This increases the deficit. So how do you make that grand bargain?
And requires Republicans to pass on their own a $5 trillion increase in the debt limit. I mean, this is insanity. We're adding $3 trillion to the deficit and piling on more debt, which Republicans have long said we can't do. We're doing it at one of the worst possible times in terms of what our economy is doing. This is madness. It's not a popular bill. It's not a smart bill. Maybe Ron Johnson had a point. Maybe this thing needed to be pulled out and passed as 2 or 3 different things.
That would have never happened.
Well, I don't know that this is going to happen.
So, unlike the state budget, I would argue that Republicans can run on this document. This document is essentially the blueprint that Donald Trump ran on last year and won convincingly. Right? Whether you call it a landslide or a mandate or just say he won convincingly, this was his agenda.
Mm-hmm.
It was building the wall. It was more border patrol. It was maintaining the existing tax structure. Billionaires and millionaires aren't getting any new tax cuts in this bill. There's a continuation of the 2017 tax cuts. Who benefits the most from this are those who make the least. And the Ways and Means Committee put out a document this morning. If you follow me on Twitter, you know I retweeted it. The biggest percentage of benefit for this bill are people making under $50,000. So working people. This comes on the same week where working people for the first time in 60 years are seeing real increases in their wages. So this is all about working people. And I think any Republican should be able to run on this without any problem.
So from a technical standpoint, I know you made a prediction about what's going to happen in the House legislature. Timing on this, unlike the state budget, if this doesn't get passed, a lot of things stop.
Yeah, having Trump where he is the difference between the state version and this federal version. Every branch of government, the House, the Senate, and the White House are all controlled by Republicans. He and his team are far more involved and much, much better than they were during Trump 45 at congressional relations. I think he will get the votes that he needs to pass this thing one way or another.
Only 67% of Republicans support the package, and 71% of independents.
I think part of that is it's so big.
View.
They don't know what's in there. I think
that's what I'm saying.
When you break out the
word
individual,
it's massive.
When you break out the individual components, the numbers are much, much higher for support.
Tax cuts for the uber wealthy paid for by healthcare cuts. That's the conversation.
People who shouldn't or otherwise wouldn't be eligible for health care, they're gonna lose their benefits. Or if they're unwilling to work or go to school to get benefits. They're going to lose their health care. I have confidence in people. I think they will be willing to do that because that's been the history in our country. And those reforms started in the state of Wisconsin. They were highly successful.
The devil is in the details. All right, the big, beautiful bill. The clock is ticking, guys. It's 10:44. We'll be back with more after the break.
For over a century, local broadcasting has evolved with the needs of the community. We move past the stigmas of opinion journalism and bring the most relevant news online, on air, and on the go. You have trusted us with your news, sports, weather, and entertainment. Trust us to keep moving with you. Text radio to 52886 and tell Congress local broadcasting is here to stay.
Don't miss the largest vacation sale in the nation coming this July. It's Fox World Travel's exclusive July sale with Apple Vacations and Celebrity Cruises. July is the best time of the year for unbeatable deals you won't get anywhere else. Get the hottest cruise deals or plan ahead for 2026 all-inclusive resorts paired with nonstop flights. Let Fox World Travel book your vacation and secure your reservation with just a deposit. Visit foxworldtravel.com/July and get on the exclusive list. Sale starts soon.
Thy ticket, Lady Jennifer of Coolidge.
Well, many thanks, good sir. Here'th my Discover card.
They accept Discover at Renaissance fairs?
Yeah, they do here. Discover is accepted at the places I love to shop. Getteth with the times.
With the times?
You're playing the lute. Yeah, and it sounds pretty good, right?
Discover is accepted at 99% of places that take credit cards nationwide. Based on the February 2024 Nielsen report.
Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed?
Can I make my side softer?
Can I make my side firmer?
Can we sleep cooler?
Sleep Number does that. Cools up to 8 times faster and lets you choose your ideal comfort on either side. Your Sleep Number setting. It's the Sleep Number 4th of July sale. Save over $600 on our King P5 smart bed, our lowest price of the season. Limited time. All Sleep Number smart beds offer temperature solutions for your best sleep. Check it out at a Sleep Number store or sleepnumber.com today.
Hey, this is Steve Scafidi for Advent. I had some snoring issues that kept my wife up at night. That led to poor sleep and a lot of tired mornings on the radio, and nobody wants that, trust me. But it's simply, my nose wasn't working the way it should. I decided to go to Advent for a quick 30-minute visit, one of their great facilities, talk to a bunch of their doctors. They really put me at ease. After a really simple sleep study at home, in my own bed, they determined the root cause of my problem had to do with my sinuses and nasal passages in my breathing triangle. I didn't even know I had a breathing triangle, so I went to see Advent. After a short procedure done in office, I'm back to breathing well, and my wife and I are both back to sleeping through the whole night. The best sleep we've ever had, that could be you. If you struggle with restless nights like I did, take the time to see how Advent can help. To find out how breathing well and sleeping well can make your life and your nights a whole lot better, go to AdventKnows.com, schedule an appointment today. Because Advent knows, when you breathe well, you live better.
Join the free smoothie party at Tropical Smoothie Cafe on Saturday, June 21st for National Smoothie Day. Tropic Rewards members get a free smoothie with bowl or food purchase. Terms and conditions apply.
Get your rock solid guaranteed pre-approval to buy at ACCUNET.com.
Welcome back to Point Taken on WTMJ this Friday morning in the studio with Bill and Joe. So we talked big, beautiful Bill. We talked UW. Let's go to Iran. Or did I say it right?
Iran.
Oh,
Iran.
man, that was the whole debate. Iran. Okay, sorry about that. So to bomb or not to bomb?
So I want to. Bill can make his own choices. I don't want to talk about the politics.
Can
of
you tell
this,
my wife that?
Other than to say, Trump has a political calculus on the right here, which is a little unusual. The split within the Republican sort of MAGA bloc is more pronounced than usual. But I don't want to get into red versus blue and the politics of it, because I am old enough to remember in 2002 and 2003 and the run-up to the Iraq War, where there were very real questions about the intelligence and its use. Here is some context for folks. For 30 years, Benjamin Netanyahu has been saying Iran is weeks away from having a nuclear weapon. Within the last 3 months, the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, has sworn out before Congress that Iran was years away from a nuclear weapon. The current president of the United States is saying, I don't care what she says, which means that he is apparently taking more seriously the Israeli intelligence assessment about Iran's, nuclear ambitions and how far away they are. The American people deserve an honest to God conversation about this before getting involved in another Mideast conflict, because there are no easy solutions here. When you've got Israel talking about regime change, when you have a president of the United States saying we are not going to kill the Ayatollah yet, when we do not know what comes after, we know that twice within the last 25 years, there have been, protest movements on the streets of Iran that may have led to a change in government. But we also know that the most likely outcome when a government falls is the guys with the guns move in. That means, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard, that could lead to an actually less stable Middle East. These are very real, very serious questions. My concern is that from Mr. Trump on down to his cabinet of Hegseth and Gabbard, who he apparently isn't even listening to at this hour, the American people deserve to have a conversation about this before anything more happens in terms of American involvement, period.
Within the last 24 hours, though, President Trump said, I'm going to give it 2 weeks, and we'll know in 2 weeks if we're going to get involved. What does that really mean?
See, I'm going to start there. There are quite a few things that Joe said that I agree with as far as the severity of this. But on the 2 week, I think the president's got his eye on he's focused primarily on the big, beautiful bill, and he's trying to get that done. And engaging Iran sometime in the next 2 weeks will be a major distraction, and it cuts on both party lines. I don't think Tucker Carlson and him popping off is going to impact Donald Trump's final decision on this, or having lunch with Steve Bannon yesterday. I think he will ultimately do the right thing, and I'm old enough to remember. I was 14 years old when the hostages were taken in Tehran.
God,
I know
old.
one of
God,
them.
you're old.
Kevin Hermaning, who ran for Congress a couple times against Dave Obey, and sadly that district was deep, deep blue at the time, but he survived that. And nothing has improved in Iran in the 46 years since that occurred. So they have Iran in a very compromised position right now. And by they, I mean Israel and, frankly, a lot of other Middle Eastern partners that hadn't been with Israel in the past. Our polling, not my polling, but the national polling shows that 75 or 80% of Americans do not want Iran to have a nuclear weapon. So do I think the U.S. will engage at some point? Yes, but never boots on the ground. Could I see us using bunker buster bombs at Fordo? Yeah, I could see that. I don't think it'll happen for a couple weeks. But there again, I think Netanyahu and Trump are having pretty regular communications. And the first strikes by Israel, I think it was quite a bit of mental deception by both the United States and Israel to pull that off as well as they did, to take out most of the top military brass. So, yeah, I think the U.S. will get involved for the good of humanity, not the U.S. interest necessarily by themselves.
But
what happened to America first?
Well, at the same time, you've got
Tucker.
You've got European leaders who are also saying we want to engage in trying to solve for this. I mean, they're more geographically susceptible.
No question.
So how does the U.S. figure out how to work with European leaders to solve this once and for all? Because that's what President Trump has said.
I think a coalition of allies is the best path for sure. The president, when his press secretary said yesterday, 2 more weeks for potential negotiations. As I understand it, I don't know if it was the Ayatollah himself or some of his men put out a statement shortly thereafter saying, thanks, but no thanks. We're not interested. So this will end at some point soon, I think in July, and I think it will be for the betterment of humanity. And my guess is we will have some role in it.
Well, that is lots to be seen here. This is an evolving story for sure. All right, when we come back, we'll wrap the show with Grab Bag or this segment of the show, the Political Power Hour segment on Point Taken. Joseph Pecky, Bill McCoshen, I'm Tracy, and for Steve and Kristen on Point Taken.
Set sail this June for a boundless bounty at Potawatomi. Come aboard, and you might win a share of $300,000 in cash and prizes. Just play with your rewards card for entries. Prize drawings on Thursdays. Boundless Bounty this June at Potawatomi Casino Hotel, Milwaukee. Your win is waiting. More info online. Must be 21 and a rewards member to play.
The Census Bureau says more than 12,000 Americans turn 65 each day. It's a surge they call Peak 65, the highest number in history. Some Annex clients retire early. Some keep working because they love it. You know why? Because they've got custom plans built by fee-only fiduciaries. They identified their wants and needs, and we went to work. We want to do the same for you. Annex does financial planning at every level. Annex Comprehensive Wealth, Annex Private Client, Annex Ignite. Visit AnnexWealth.com and click the Get Started button.
A buck doesn't buy much unless you're spending it at Griffin. For just $1 over cost, you can buy brand new tires from us. This is Jim Griffin. Any major brand, $1 over our cost with free tire repair and lifetime rotation. We'll even show you the invoice to prove it. Our only requirements, we put them on for you. Buy one or the whole set. The dollar deal from Griffin. Milwaukee, Waukesha, Fort Atkinson, and Jefferson. Griffin. The buck stops here. The deals on tires don't. That's Griffin.
Not combinable with other tire offers.
It's the weekend. Take your family to the historic Fox and Hound Supper Club for a free dinner. I just might do that. WTMJ's John Mercure here. The all-you-can-eat fish fry is fabulous. I love the perch. All other dinners are buy one, get one free, including the pecan-crusted salmon, the pan-fried walleye. They've got new items on the dinner menu. Enjoy your favorite steak, seafood, pasta, even steak and lobster, prime rib on Saturday, all of that. Your second dinner is always free. Sip on an old-fashioned. They've got over 20 bourbons and 100 wines, and that old world bar, it is so fun. You'll love the Fox and Hounds all-you-can-eat Friday fish fry. All other dinners are buy one, get one free this weekend. Just off Highway 167, 2 miles east of the famous Holy Hill Shrine. The drive, the views, the kettle moraine. Spectacular this time of year. Now serving lunch on Saturdays from 11 a.m. till 2. The all-you-can-eat Sunday brunch is magnificent. Tables are open. Call and reserve your free dinner or check it out. foxandhoundsrestaurant.com. It's the famous Fox and Hounds.
I'm Brett Matschke, and you're due for service.
Ridgelawns. When we're out in your town, come say hi as we broadcast live from the Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin mobile studio.
Anytime you hear us when we're on the road, you can find us live from our brand new mobile studio.
Whether it be Summerfest, EAA, Opening Day, Air and Water Show, wherever we may be.
You can see us on the radio, live from the Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin mobile studio.
We are Wisconsin's radio station.
We are Wisconsin's radio station.
We are Wisconsin's radio station.
News Radio 620 WTMJ. WTMJ, W277CV, and WKTI HD2 Milwaukee from the Annex Wealth Management Studios. This is News Radio WTMJ, a Good Karma brand station.
All right. Since we got most of the politics out of our systems, let's finish up with some grab bags.
Welcome back on WTMJ. This hour flies by. I have an idea for this Friday show. So an hour where you guys are in the studio with Steve and Kristen, and then an hour answering all these smart text questions. Seriously.
There are a lot of them every week.
There are. And I mean...
Sorry we didn't get to them today, but lots happening.
Okay. Yeah. So at some point, maybe I'll send them to you guys and you can follow up with the 262s and the 414s.
It's usually just Fraley, but...
Yeah. No, there's a lot on here. So, I mean, just so much great insight. So thank you so much. So this is the portion of the show where we do the grab bag. What's in your grab? Who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
All right.
I went to the greatest golf outing I have ever been to this week for Folds of Honor, the Wisconsin chapter. It's the chairman of the organization is Matt Newman from Newman Homes out in Lakes Country. His father's a former congressman. Matt's highly successful. The co-chairs are Mike Moore from M3 and Jim Hartlieb from the Business Bank in Madison. I think they raised somewhere around $200,000. What the Folds of Honor does is they help veterans, the active military, get home. Like one gentleman talked about his son was stationed in Asia. The ticket home, he got the leave, but the ticket home was $3,000. His dad used all kinds of miles to get the guy home. When he went back, he was killed. And so his father got deeply involved in the organization. So it helps people, if you're stationed overseas and can't afford to come home and see your family during your leave, to get home. And it also provides scholarships to veterans who want to complete their education. for one reason or another, the GI Bill doesn't work for everybody. And so the Folds of Honor does an amazing job, and I want to give them a shout out, and we'll continue to support them for sure.
So not only great golf, but for a great cause. That makes it extra special.
For sure. We had skydivers. We had a military widow give her story that brought the place to tears during the dinner portion. And it was an amazing day for sure.
If all golf outings.
And hats off to Kristen, who's at a different charity outing today for the Milwaukee Diaper Mission. There's a lot of great causes out there. Do everything you can to support them. Mine's very quick. Not a winning weekend for me last weekend, but if you follow me on social media, you know the hashtag I use most frequently is Uncle is a great gig. Best job I've ever had being an uncle. Congratulations to my niece Everett for winning Little Miss Polish Fest.
Oh,
and to her little sister Micah, who also placed. They were adorable. I was sorry to miss them. Sorry to miss Polish Fest for the first time in 13 years, but I'll be at German Fest next month. I hope to see you all there.
Very nice. Hey, I do have a follow-up question for you. So I know you spent a lot of time for the race that you just ran. What was the biggest thing that you learned, and the biggest thing that you learned about people in Wisconsin and about the party and the politics?
Oh, gosh. How much time do we have? Not much.
30 seconds. I love asking those questions, win or lose, because running for office is something most people don't do. They complain about it, but they won't get involved.
The number of people who are willing to give of their time to try to make their communities better, it happens if you're at all involved in politics, but to see it and to meet more of those folks from every corner of the state. I traveled about 5,000 miles in 2 months. Really, really inspiring. People are engaged. People should stay engaged, do what they can to help their communities, whatever it looks like for them.
Well, congratulations on a great effort. So
thank you.
You did it the right way.
Yeah. Thanks, guys, for being here. We got a whole nother hour. We are going to be joined in studio by Ted Neiske. He's a good friend. He's mayor of Port Washington. We're going to talk about data centers, local leadership. He's also an educator. So all the things that are happening at the state level, we will discuss when we return. Thanks for being with us, Bill McCoshen, Joe Zapecki. Stay tuned. I'll be back with more after the news.
Welcome to The Knowledge Brokers, our weekly feature covering the dynamics of the insurance market, how it affects Wisconsin businesses and residents. Sponsored by the original Knowledge Broker, R&R Insurance. Joining us today, Jeff Salazinski, Vice President of Insurance Operations. Jeff, we talked about some of the disruptions due to mergers and acquisitions in the insurance industry over the years. How's 2025 looking so far?
Thank you, Vince. Great to be here. Another busy year for M&A in our business with a couple of interesting twists. Many of the nationals are looking to get much larger through huge deals, and many of the brokers and agents that merged just a few years ago are looking to be acquired again.
So why is this so important to people listening right now?
Vince, when your agent or broker sells their business, it means uncertainty. Is it really helping the business owner when your insurance agent or broker's heads down, involved in selling their business or acquiring another one? Today's market's too complex to be working with an agent or broker that's distracted. New owners have new demands. The focus becomes very much internal and away from the customer.
So here in Wisconsin, how does the agent-broker landscape look right now?
There are several agencies that will be involved in their third deal in just the last 5 years. Others are working on timing their IPO to hit the market at the right time. Not easy. And new players are looking to make their way into the Wisconsin market.
So, Jeff, why should a family or business work with R&R Insurance?
At R&R Insurance, we're fiercely independent. We've been family-owned for almost 50 years. Stability is critically important. We make our own decisions and answer only to ourselves. We're client-focused and direct our energy and resources toward our clients. If you're looking for a better insurance purchasing experience with a top 100 agency in the country, we'd love to speak with you. At R&R Insurance, we know business insurance.
That's Jeff from R&R Insurance. Thanks for the great info, Jeff.
The place you want to go, Lynch McWanago.
Nobody sells for less than Lynch.
They call it the Twin Cities. One for losing and one for excuses. Together, they form the perfect disappointment.
The stretch, he stays the pitch. Ground ball left side, that could be two to second for one. On to first, double play, ball game over.
Our Brewers Twins radio network coverage starts tonight at 6:35. We are the home of the Brewers. 620 WTMJ, Milwaukee.
11:04, we have 71 degrees. From noon tomorrow till 7 p.m. Monday, an extreme heat warning for Milwaukee, Racine, and Kenosha counties, and a heat advisory for the rest of southeastern Wisconsin. We're reaching for a high today of 83. From the WTMJ Breaking News Center, I'm Connie Weber. Dangerous heat over the weekend. Winds coming in from the southwest. There'll be little to no relief even near the lake, making it potentially dangerous. WTMJ meteorologist Craig Copleen tells Wisconsin's Morning News.
Especially in situations where the heat lasts for days upon days upon days. There's a lack of ability for people, especially without air conditioning or outside doing strenuous activities, to recover enough, or the cumulative effects of long-term hot and humid weather on the body that becomes a danger.
Your complete WTMJ 5-day forecast coming up in less than 10 minutes. Wife of a Minnesota state senator out of the hospital after being shot in an assassination attempt last weekend. Democrat John Hoffman and his wife shot at their home near Minneapolis early Saturday morning. Police say the suspect, Vance Bolter, shot the Hoffmans before driving to the home of Democratic Representative Melissa Hortman and killing her and her husband. In a unanimous decision today, Supreme Court says Americans overseas who are victims of a terror attack have the right to sue. More from legal analyst and Loyola Law School professor Lori Levinson.
In 2015, a federal court had awarded victims more than $650 million under the Federal Anti-Terrorism Act. But there was a challenge to that and whether it would cover these acts that happen overseas. This decision will make it easier for victims' families to bring the lawsuits under this act.
Conflict between Israel and Iran entering its second week. It began last Friday when Israel attacked Iran in an effort to keep it from developing nuclear weapons. Israeli air attacks have reportedly killed over 600 people in Iran. Israel claims Iranian missiles have killed about 24 civilians. Summerfest underway. The Sky Glider gives a bird's eye view of Summerfest. What about a fish's eye view?
Summerfest is offering a brief escape from the crowds to the water with free 30-minute kayak sessions in the lagoon. Kurt Bayman co-owns Forward Outdoor, a new kayak company in the Milwaukee area.
Music and the energy and the passion of the people in the festival are here. It's kind of juxtaposed with the peacefulness on the water, really just right next to that.
Participants on day one give the experience a thumbs up.
It was really good. Like, the water's super calm, so anyone at any level could do it pretty well. And then, like, the docking that they have, it's super easy to get in and out.
At Summerfest, Jessica Gatso, WTMJ News.
Time for news about your money in the WTMJ Annex Wealth Management Market Update. Dow is up 51 points, NASDAQ down 83, S&P 500 down 10. Financial planning at every level, Annex Comprehensive Wealth, Annex Private Client, Annex Ignite. Details at annexwealth.com. Sports, traffic, and weather up next. Outdoor Living Unlimited, WTMJ News Time, 11:06.
Monica, we've got to hand it to you.
You and the design team have outdone yourselves.
Are you talking about the One collection?
Those rings say you are the one.
And they say it symbolically.
Describe the symbols.
Every ring in the One collection should be presented with a special ritual.
What would that ritual be?
You pick up her left hand and you place a kiss on her ring finger.
Rick, you never told me about that part.
Then you show her the tiny red diamond, flush mounted inside the ring, that will forever be in contact with her finger.
Why is it red?
Because that's when the giver says to the one, wherever you go, my heart goes with you.
I give you this kiss. I give you my heart.
The red diamond is a secret symbol of that sacred moment.
The center diamond on the outside of the ring is for the whole world to see.
But the tiny red created diamond inside the ring is only for the two of them.
The One collection of engagement rings is available exclusively at Kessler's.
To find the Kesslers nearest you,
visit KesslersDiamonds.com.
We see you out there, building a life you love, knowing that when inspiration strikes, nothing should get in your way. At Blaine's, we're here to help with everything you need to make it happen at prices that make it possible. Like $150 off a Hobart 210 MVP MIG welder. Save $55 on a Flowtech convertible jet well pump. All Steelworks welding stock 10% off. Plus, we offer Blaine's best price promise, guaranteeing the lowest price with us or we'll match it. Blaine's Farm and Fleet. Be an original.
Haven't you just had it with overpriced, overrated fish fries? Don't pay $16 or more. The Mine Chef restaurant in Hartford's all-you-can-eat haddock fish fry is $7.99. WTMJ's John Mercure here. After a long week, don't cook. Relax with a cold beverage and a Friday fish fry for $7.99. The kids' menu starts at $3.99, and they can safely play in that huge game room away from the dining area while you finish up your meal. The Mine Shaft is super super family friendly. Your Saturday steak or prime rib dinner is under $25. Sunday brunch is under $15, far less than what you'll pay elsewhere. The Mine Shaft in beautiful downtown Hartford and near the EAA in Oshkosh. Lots of seating, close parking, and a very friendly staff. Just walk in today for your all-you-can-eat beer-battered haddock fish fry for $7.99, serving from 11 a.m. Get there early. It's big food. It's big fun. It's the Mine Shaft. Check out mineshaft.restaurant.com.
Time for a WTMJ Sports Update from the Gruber Law Office's One Call That's All Sports Desk. Brewers edge the Cubs 8-7 from Wrigley. Brew Crew back in action tonight against the Twins for the first of 3 games from Minneapolis. There will be a Game 7 in the NBA Finals. The Pacers took down the Oklahoma City Thunder 108-91 in a win or go home Game 6 in Indianapolis. Take a look at the roads with your WTMJ Time Saver traffic. That crash that was blocking a lane, I-43 southbound to I-94 westbound, has been cleared, so delays should ease up there. I-43 south about a third of a mile beyond Highway 100. The right shoulder there blocked due to a broken down vehicle. Here's your WTMJ 5-day forecast from noon Saturday till 7 p.m. Monday. Extreme heat warning for Milwaukee, Racine, and Kenosha counties. Heat advisory for the rest of southeast Wisconsin. Sunshine later today, high 83, 72 overnight. Saturday and Sunday, hot and humid with high Saturday 94, 96 on Sunday, and a heat index both days near 105. Chance of thunderstorms Monday with a high of 94, heat index near 100. Chance of storms Tuesday, partly cloudy, 83. 69 in Madison, 71 in Green Bay and Milwaukee. I'm Connie Weber. Outdoor Living Unlimited, WTMJ News Time, 11:10.
Broadcasting live from the Annex Wealth Management Studios at the Avenue. It's time for Point Taken. Here's Tracy Johnson.
Welcome back to the Friday edition of Point Taken. I am your host today, Tracy Johnson. It's my first time doing Point Taken. I mean, I've done the Political Power Hour. I did Jeff Wagner's show when he was here, filled in for Steve, but this is a treat a little bit later in the day. And for this hour, actually, we have him for 45 minutes, I think. We have the mayor of Port Washington, who wears a lot of hats that we're going to talk about today, Ted Neitzke, who has been in this role for a number of years. But really the reason I wanted to talk to you today was about the big news that is happening in Ozaukee County. And as an Ozaukee County resident, I get the news graphic, and it is the headline of the day. It's like not above the fold. It's like at the top on the banner. News about this huge data center that's coming to Port Washington that you were an instrumental part of. So tell us a little bit about that news.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Tracy. And I think the challenge for the two of us over the course of the next 45 minutes is to use point taken as many times possible in our interactions with each other.
Point taken.
Yeah. So good point. Yeah. So what happened was we're very fortunate in the city of Port Washington. About a year and a half ago, the Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation and M7, the MMAC economic development arm, had approached the city of Port Washington and started to acquire some properties up there under contract to potentially attract a silicone chip plant to Wisconsin. There were 4 or 5 sites in the country that were competitive for that spot. And what ended up happening was we didn't get it. And Jim from MMAC or M7 called me up and he's like, hey, Ted, bad news. Port Washington wasn't chosen. And I'm very optimistic by nature. So I just immediately pivoted like, hey, we don't lose in Port Washington, we learn. So what did we learn here? What do we need to do? And how do we prepare for this? And I think everyone was kind of stunned. But it goes back to when this current council administrative team and myself, we put in place a pretty aggressive strategic plan to try to figure out a way to draw economic development to the city of Port Washington, because local communities who, like Port Washingtons and Cedarburgs, when you become, your boundaries kind of are firm and you become more residential than commercial and industrial, your tax base really shifts to the people who live there. And having lived in Port Washington my entire life, I've just watched as more and more of that tax burden goes to people. So long story short is what ended up happening was we didn't get the opportunity to have heavy manufacturing come to Port Washington. We asked what else is out there. And we got in a great relationship with M7 and their board and the Economic Development Corporation of the state. And they brought up the idea of like, well, the whole world wants data centers in the Midwest. We have every condition possible. We have energy. We have clean air. We've got great environments. We have unbelievable people. We've got a strong education system. And do you want us to chase that with you? And we said yes. So in a very rapid period of time, we became partners with Cloverleaf Development out of Houston, Texas. And they came up and they started working with We Energies and myself and the city. And then that led to our new partnership with Vantage, which is going to build, somewhere between 4 to 8 data centers on the northwest side of the city of Port Washington, which we've begun annexing, areas that was all agriculture. And we're ready to go. I mean, we're a $1.3 billion valued city, which is, we're going to be 4, 5, 6x that, which means the tax burden and tax will shift away from the people who live there to the industries that thrive there.
So, and I know a lot of folks don't work inside a data center. So your need for employees was maybe not the greatest of considerations, but your access to power and your access to land was really important, right? I mean, there are only so many sites, not to mention the fact that you're close to Lake Michigan, right? There's a heavy need for water for cooling that facility. I want to give some perspective, though. Okay, so we talk about this being a huge project, a huge data center. This is something like 3.5 gigawatts.
Yes.
What does that? I don't even know what that means. Can you lay that out for those who don't understand that?
I'm going to gear down back into high school history teacher here, and because most people don't understand what 3.5 gigawatts are. They don't know the difference between an 80 watt and a 100 watt light bulb, right? Neither do I. It's just one's brighter than the other. 3.5 gigawatts of power is what Costa Rica uses in a day.
I mean, that's huge.
Yeah. 3.5 gigawatts of power is what every home in the state of Wisconsin uses in the day. Now, that is going to be piped into the city of Port Washington to fuel these data centers. That is good in so many different ways. And one of the things, Tracy, that I just want to touch on real quickly is you mentioned the water from Lake Michigan. That's a misnomer. Most people think that the data centers use lots and lots of water.
Oh.
Well, I flew out to Virginia last week and went and visited the Vantage data centers out there, which are brand new. And they have closed loop systems. And once they put the water in them, the water stays in them. It's not coming in and out. They're not using millions of gallons of water a day. As a matter of fact, the city of Port Washington is likely not even going to have to add a water tower or anything because this whole area with the amount of employees is going to use hundreds of thousands of gallons, not millions of gallons of water. And the city's got capacity for it. So it was just a really interesting learning on my field trip out to Virginia to see these data centers in action because everything everybody has said about them, in my personal experience, was completely inaccurate. I don't know if people get their information on data centers from the 70s when they were run on diesel engines, but today these are really interesting and amazing places.
Well, there's a lot of probably misinformation out there because there are a lot of people who don't understand them and maybe don't want to see them, which we'll talk about in the next segment. But I want to talk a little bit about this specific operator, which I think is really interesting. You've got Microsoft, right, in Mount Pleasant, which is a huge site, a huge get for that region. But here in Port Washington, you didn't go after a Meta or a Google, but rather Vantage. Why is that unique?
Yeah, so that was our partnership with Cloverleaf as they were looking for the end user. And we did meet with some big names. And what ended up happening that I thought was fantastic and very much appreciated, especially because I am a huge advocate for local control in these large economic development opportunities, is that we were a partner along the way as we were meeting with the different end users. And where it came out where Vantage was not only ahead of names that you'd get excited about, because I used to say, like, how cool would it be if we were home to all of Apple's or all of Microsoft's, right? And that was our identity. What's really nice about Vantage is that they're a quiet operator who folds into the community. They have strong Midwestern values, and they understand the importance of being a part of the city, the region, and the state. And they've already demonstrated that. And when I went and visited their plants, I mean, they just do such a nice job of quietly folding into the area. No splash, no, like when you drive down kind of the canyon of Racine and Kenosha County and the development there and those large buildings that are on both sides of the interstate that are so big and beautiful. That's not what we're going to see when you're driving into Port Washington from the north side of the state. You're going to see heavy landscaping and just really cool facilities. So their CEO and their president of North American operations and their team came to Port Washington and met with us. And we were really excited after meeting with them and then doing our diligence on what type of a company they were, looking into calling communities that they were a part of, asking, hard questions and really checking their references. Even though we didn't have a choice, we still wanted to make sure that our community and our region and our state was taken care of.
Well, and one thing I understand about this company is they have the ability to have different companies come in and out of that facility. And so that, in my observation, would suggest that there's more sustainability for that structure and that project overall, because you're not tied to just one user. Let's just say Microsoft all of a sudden becomes obsolete, or there's a change in technology, you can adjust to that.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And it's a great point because it will allow not just the sustainability, but the company evolves very rapidly with the technology. So once a data center is put up, a lot of people are like, oh, these are going to go away in 20 years. This is wrong. Well, we've had data centers for 40, 50 years already. They're just now needed in a new way because, the internet has evolved. AI is evolving. And what's beautiful is the opportunity for us now to power the internet and AI in Port Washington, just like we power the state with our power company.
Mayor of Port Washington, Ted Knightsky, when we come back, I want to talk a little bit about rolling this out to the public and how you've worked with stakeholders. Of course, there's a lot of misinformation. How do you deal with that opposition? So we'll talk about that when we come back. It's 11:20 on Point Taken. I'm Tracy Johnson in for Steve and Kristen.
Hey, this is Steve Scafidi for Advent. I had some snoring issues that kept my wife up at night. That led to poor sleep and a lot of tired mornings on the radio, and nobody wants that, trust me. But it's simply, my nose wasn't working the way it should. I decided to go to Advent for a quick 30-minute visit, one of their great facilities, talk to a bunch of their doctors. They really put me at ease. After a really simple sleep study at home, in my own bed, they determined the root cause of my problem had to do with my sinuses and nasal passages in my breathing triangle. I didn't even know I had a breathing triangle until I went to see Advent. After a short procedure done in office, I'm back to breathing well, and my wife and I are both back to sleeping through the whole night. The best sleep we've ever had, that could be you. If you struggle with restless nights like I did, take the time to see how Advent can help. To find out how breathing well and sleeping well can make your life and your nights a whole lot better, go to AdventKnows.com, schedule an appointment today. Because Advent knows, when you breathe well, you live better.
The Cane Table from Penny Mustard is more than just a table.
It's hosted countless brunches.
It's where important documents are signed.
And where family meetings are held.
It's headquarters for homework.
Craft projects.
Board games.
And the wrapping of various gifts.
It's not about food.
It's about memories.
So it's gotta last.
It will, for generations to come.
The Cane Dining Room Table with 6 encore chairs starting at $61.97 at Penny Mustard.
Showrooms in Milwaukee and Chicago.
PennyMustard.com.
We hope you've been hitting your spots on the mound, because if you leave anything over the plate, it's going to be mini-so gone.
For Collins, who gets into one to right field. Deep at the track, it is gone!
The Brewers head to Minnesota to take on the Twins.
Isaac Collins, a 2-run blast, and the Brewers on the board first.
Our Brewers Radio Network game day coverage starts tonight at 6:35. We are the home of the Brewers. WTMJ.
Imagine trying to take on one of the big car companies. It's not easy. Yet recently, one local law firm finalized the largest compensatory verdict in state history against an automaker, over $38 million. And it was no fluke. That same firm has been holding big car companies accountable for faulty designs that cause injury for over 50 years. Because Wisconsinites know who to call when it's a must-win scenario. They call Habish, Habish & Rotier. National reputation, hometown service.
For those with a warm weather fashion passion, try St. Vincent de Paul thrift stores, because that's where you'll find a vast array of men's, women's, girls, and boys' warm weather apparel at the friendliest prices. So many choices, and at such a value. You can fill the closet without draining your wallet. Shop warm weather fashions at St. Vincent de Paul thrift stores on Highway 100 in Layton and Greenfield, 23rd in Lincoln, and 76th and Bradley Road in Milwaukee.
You're gonna love it, St. Vincent de Paul.
At Hazelden Betty Ford, treating mental health isn't just about breaking old patterns, it's about braving new ones. As the leader in alcohol and drug treatment for 75 years, we know caring for addiction, anxiety, depression, and trauma goes hand in hand. We're here for you with new tools when life breaks down. Discover your path to better mental health at hazeldenbettyford.org/Wisconsin. Sponsored by Hazelden Betty Ford Foundation.
Welcome back to Ask Hasselus. I'm Weston. What's your question?
How do you get pee out of an old mattress?
Well,
I'm asking for a friend.
the best way to remove urine from a mattress is to trade in that old mattress for a new Beautyrest or Sealy Posturepedic.
But that'll cost a lot of money.
Not at Hasselus Mattress. Through Monday, trade in your old mattress and get additional savings of $248 off a queen and $348 off a king. And that's on top of our everyday low prices.
Come on, everybody says lowest prices.
Others sell a Sealy Posturepedic Queen Emeryville A mattress for $1268. Hasselus sells it for $1034. But through Monday, it's just $786. And check out the low prices on Beautyrest and more. Plus, free next day delivery.
What does my friend do with his old soaked mattress?
We haul it away for pee.
What was that?
Sorry, I meant for free.
Sure you did.
Open 9 to 9. Find an employee-free showroom near you at Hasselus.com.
Brew Crew Tuesdays are back on June 24th.
Uh-oh. Curio sends it deep to left, and there she goes.
Catch the Brewers on local TV as they take on the Pittsburgh Pirates.
And Yelich launches one deep right center field. Forget about it. Oh, my goodness. Third down.
This edition of Brew Crew Tuesdays is presented by Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. Tune in June 24th at 6:40 on Fox 6 in Milwaukee, or check your local listings to watch the game.
Welcome back on WTMJ. Point taken. I'm Tracy Johnson in for Stephen Kristen. I'm joined in studio by Ted Knightsky. Wears a lot of hats, but right now we're talking about this huge story about the 3.5 gigawatt data center going up in the city of Port Washington. And this project was not an easy project to get done. Not only did it face a lot of hurdles along the way, but there is some public opposition. And what I've noticed living in Ozaukee County is just how that communication is handled. Can you talk a little bit about what that opposition is and perhaps the opportunity you have with that?
Yeah, I think, my personal philosophy over the course of my life is whenever there's an opposition to an idea, we have to greet that with empathy and try to understand, where is it coming from? Where are the gaps? Is it ignorance of the information? Is it stubbornness? Is it an unwillingness to understand? What is it? So in Port, when we first announced it, so there were some neighbors in the region of the town, which is not under our purview, who were supportive or upset about it, and they came in. And one of the great things about local, processes and democracies, the community gets to speak. So people would come in and say things and ask questions and do things. Well, we took that very seriously. And I think, through our help with our PR firms and everyone else, is that we have been posting every question asked. We have the answer listed for them online. So as the world of social media that rapidly runs with whatever first post they Google comes up, when a question was asked, we would pull that question and then we would answer with a fact. And we were not afraid of the facts. So even if the facts weren't on the side of our argument or our vision or our strategy, we still posted them. And that just kind of slowed that down. The second thing is we ran this very intentionally to ensure that people in social or political situations would have the information they need. So we held multiple community sessions. We went to, I went out and met with, all the different service clubs. I held Saturday sessions. I went to the senior center. And as soon as I showed the slide that said, here's what we pay in taxes as a percentage against Saukville, Cedarburg, other communities in our region, the minute they saw that and I said, and if we bring in $3 billion worth of valuation, you can do the math yourself. Every question stopped. Everyone. And they were like, as a matter of fact, when I was at the senior center, Mrs. Bink, one of the ladies who was there, she got really upset and she's like, you need to make sure the paper tells this side of the story. And then one other gentleman yelled out, dig, Teddy, dig, like I was out there building it myself. So again, every opportunity for people with an opposing view is met with empathy. And then we just try to get the facts out there. Everyone's going to make up their own minds. And anytime a community goes through any evolution or change, there's always going to be resistance because people like it the way it is for them because that's navigable and what's what they're used to. And then they come downtown and they're like, I really like the brewery. Well, nobody wanted that. Hey, 40 years ago, nobody wanted the marina. Now it defines our community. And again, this having the tenacity as a council, because I think our council's done a wonderful job, and our administration to be resilient has just kind of demonstrated we'll stay on strategy. We were intentional about this. The city actually identified this area in the 60s for growth for manufacturing. And when I ran for mayor, I said with frequency, if I can get a Honda motor plant to come to Port Washington, it will change what we do. And it's because Port Washington has a history of industrial, manufacturing. We used to be the number one producer of lawn tractors, snow blowers, and lawnmowers in our city, in Port Washington. We had heavy industry there. And in the 80s and the 90s and that evolution, it all changed. And now we're bringing it back in the 21st century's version, and it's much more sustainable, no environmental impacts. I shouldn't say no environmental impacts, nowhere near the environmental impacts of heavy manufacturing. And it's really going to benefit our community.
Mayor Knightsky, we have about a minute left. I want you to kind of answer the question we talked about during the break, which was there's a political calculation and then there's a strategic calculation. Obviously, you've got both things going on here. So how does this work into your position as mayor and saying, am I going to do what's right or am I going to do what's politically popular?
Yeah, I think, and this is going to sound altruistic, but I don't think of myself in the decisions. I mean, if I did, we probably wouldn't have taken any of these risks because it would have been much easier to go to Piggly Wiggly and be high-fived for getting the lighthouse painted, right? And there are so many great things going on. But at the end of the day, if you have a strategic plan and you focus on the strategic plan, it just puts you on point, and it's what you need to do. All
right, Mayor Knightsky, City of Port Washington. When we come back, we have a lot to talk about in terms of local control. You've been an outspoken advocate about that. And how do you leverage your state, local resources, and federal resources for the benefit of your community? When we come back, news is next.
ABC News, I'm Stephanie Officer. A juror from the Karen Reed retrial explaining why she voted to acquit. ABC's Matt Gutman spoke with that juror.
The toughest moment for her? Hearing the derogatory text messages about Reed sent by lead homicide investigator Michael Proctor just hours after he got the case.
It was incredibly hard to hear that language. It was upsetting.
ABC affiliate WCVB speaking to juror number 11, Paula Prado, who initially thought Reed was guilty of manslaughter, but changed her mind as the trial went on.
A new focus now on the engines on the Air India plane that crashed in India, killing 270 people. ABC's Rhiannon Alley.
The airline's chairman says one of the engines on that plane was brand new, installed in March. The other wasn't due for service until December. Investigators are now looking for similarities between this crash and an incident 5 years ago in London when a plane's engines malfunctioned after leaving the ground. The cause of
This is ABC News.
Outdoor Living Unlimited, WTMJ News Time, 11:31. I'm Connie Weber. One person killed in a fiery crash in Fond du Lac around 3 a.m. this morning at South National Avenue and Denevu Circle. Officers found the SUV fully engulfed in flames after a crash. 22-year-old woman in the driver's seat dead on the scene. A teen sentenced for his role in a gas station shooting last summer. 19-year-old Jermaine Parrish pleaded guilty to 2 gun charges after a shootout near 76th and Silver Spring in July of 2023. He gets 5 years in prison, 4 years of supervision with credit for nearly 2 years already served. High heat can bring one more danger, pavement buckling. This causes areas of road to crack and break up as more vehicles roll over them, creating potholes or worse. Drivers should remember to stay buckled up, slow down, eliminate distractions. You can scan further down the road and not be caught off guard. In the city of Milwaukee, there is online service request forms you can fill out to report any road issues. Time for some news about your money. The WTMJ Annex Wealth Management Market Update. Mixed picture on Wall Street. Dow up 91 points, 42,263. The Nasdaq is down 68, 19,476. S&P 500 is down 4 points at 5,975. Financial planning at every level. Annex Comprehensive Wealth, Annex Private Client, Annex Ignite. Details at annexwealth.com. Taking a look at the roads now with your WTMJ Time Saver traffic. A little slow and go. I-41, both directions, north and southbound from Highway Q to the Zoo interchange. Normally about a 14-minute drive. Going to take you closer to 18 to 20 minutes. Here's your WTMJ 5-day forecast from noon tomorrow till 7 p.m. Monday. An extreme heat warning for Milwaukee, Racine, and Kenosha counties, and a heat advisory for the rest of southeastern Wisconsin. Sunshine later this afternoon with a high of 83. Warm and humid overnight, low 72. Sunny, hot, and humid both Saturday and Sunday. Saturday's high 94. Sunday's high 96, and the heat index both days near 105. Still hot and humid on Monday, maybe a thunderstorm later on. High Monday 94, heat index near 100, and a chance of storms Tuesday, partly cloudy with a high of 83. 69 in Madison, 71 in Green Bay and Milwaukee. I'm Connie Weber, Outdoor Living Unlimited, WTMJ News Time, 11:34.
Hey, this is WTMJ Steve Scavidi for QC Kinetics. Big focus in America today on your health, and you're determined to look beyond pills and steroids and surgery to feel your best, right? I want to talk to the person who's in pain right now, or maybe it's someone you love. I've got chronic elbow pain. Maybe someone you love is dealing with that issue. You've done everything they told you to do. The pain just comes back. You're exhausted, but you don't give up. You want to meet someone who can fix that for you? Let's meet with Medical Director Dr. Ashley Caravelli and her team. They'll explain how their regenerative treatments take your body's own healing power and help restore your damaged tissue. These are well-respected protocols that include potent and powerful cellular-level treatments. QC Kinetics. QC Kinetics has helped tens of thousands of people, so many of them right here in Milwaukee. No masking the pain. They're going after the very source of it. Yes, you can say goodbye to that chronic pain and live your best life. Find out if you're a good candidate. The consultation is free. Just call QC Kinetics at 414-285-3474. That's 414-285-3474.
Forget average. At Exterior Pros, they bring the heat. They're not here to meet standards. They're here to smash them. From the first swing of the hammer to the final reveal, they're leveling up your home with every window, every shingle, and every single detail. This isn't just a remodel. It's a glow-up for your house. Built tough, built beautiful, built to turn heads. Want in? Let's go. Lock in your project now and save $3,000. Exterior Pros, where bold meets built. Trust the pros and visit extpros.com or call 262-800-4274.
Are you worried about running out of money in retirement? Wondering about how to pay less taxes? Join me, Tony Drake, for the Retirement Ready Show, live every Saturday at noon and Sunday at 7 a.m. on WTMJ 620 or 103.3 FM. We'll talk about smart strategies to help you retire with confidence. Don't miss it.
Drake & Associates LLC is an independent investment advisory firm that offers a variety of different investment vehicles. This commercial is provided for informational purposes only and should not be construed as individual investment advice. Drake & Associates LLC does not provide legal or tax advice. Past performance is not indicative of future performance.
Welcome back to Point Taken on WTMJ. It's 11:36. I'm Tracy in for Kristen and Steve. In studio with Port Washington Mayor Ted Knightsky. I'm getting a lot of good feedback from people not in Milwaukee who are very curious about this project. So thank you for being here and clearing a lot of this up. Mayor, I want to start with this question about local control and why it's so important, especially around economic development issues, because, you know, you're just one city in lots of different cities, but you've got the state legislature, you've got all these federal factions. Talk a little bit about that and why that was the key to really getting this project done.
Yeah, I think, again, it goes back to our strategic plan and being intentional. And if you don't maintain the ability at the local level to be able to have high influence in what's going on, then you inherit a lot of things from the outside. And it's hard to defend. It's hard to work with your staff. It's hard to get it moving. And for me, one of the things I've learned over the course of my career as mayor in the 2 terms is that, boy, does everybody else want to tell you how to do your job. The federal government wants to tell the state how to do their job. Then the state says, you know, we want local control, and the state comes in and, you know, wants to, you know, you can only do this at the counties. You can only do this at the cities. Our experience on this project has been the exact opposite. We have bipartisan support on a bill that just passed the Senate on Tuesday. It was co-sponsored by a Republican senator and a Democratic senator. We've got great support from the Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation and M7. But they're helping us with our vision. They're not telling us what to envision. So again, we've been in a really nice position here, maintaining that we are, to use a cliche for Port Washington, we are the biggest fish in our pond. But when you leave Port Washington, you know, that fish size scales down. You know, we go from a lake trout to suddenly there's whales and there's sharks and there's just gigantic other animals out there, but at the local level, we have been able to maintain that. And I think that's been to the benefit of everyone.
So spanning out a little bit, I think a lot of listeners might not realize that this project would not have happened were it not for legislation passed throughout the state of Wisconsin, exempting data centers from sales tax. So this project wouldn't even be consideration if that legislation had not passed, opening up opportunities for other communities, whether it's Mount Pleasant or Beaver Dam. Talk a little bit about that and why that's so important for other states, frankly, to be looking at that.
Well, first, I don't want any other states to look at it because I want Wisconsin to have a huge competitive advantage. But there are so few economic development attraction tools that you can have that the state waiving the income tax or the sales tax on purchases to fill those data centers saves them millions and millions and millions of dollars. And that's very attractive. That compiled with some local incentives that can be offered, put Port Washington, Beaver Dam, Kenosha, Racine in a really competitive position to be able to have this type of technological innovations coming to our communities.
So when it comes to that investment, though, of the actual data center, there are all those other impacts, whether it's increasing demand for housing or retail development. How do you see that playing out in the next 5 to 10 years for Port Washington?
Tracy, I cannot tell you how enthusiastically excited I am about this because what's going to happen is for the next 10 years, there's going to be construction on the north side of Port Washington. There's going to be between 500 and 2,000 men, women, and people working out there every day. And you know what they're going to need? They're going to need screwdriver bits. So our True Value is going to be Drew's True Value is going to be the busiest True Value there is. The McDonald's on the north side of town will be the busiest McDonald's. Our downtown businesses will thrive, not just survive like they usually have to, but our businesses and our restaurants and all the different suppliers, the secondary and tertiary things that come along with this will be so impactful. In Port Washington, we will grow in ways unforeseen with positive consequences for generations to come because new infrastructure, new support. And, you know, I'd ask you as a realtor and a commercial realtor and somebody who's a leader in that space, like, how do you see that as an advantage for small communities? Because Ozaukee County's really never thought of in the equation of like, where should we invest in Wisconsin? It's really considered like quaint, touristy, ag area. And guess what? It's not. It's going to be home to the world's largest data center, which is going to draw more things to the north. So how does that help realtors and commercial investors and developers?
Well, I think especially when you think about how competitive it is out there, right, for these states that are looking to attract business. Anything that you can do to attract more commercial development. And you said it in the first segment about changing the equation on who's paying the property tax. Is it the commercial user or is it the property tax or the homeowner? And I think as a commercial real estate professional, like I'm always looking at those opportunities and looking for the opportunities to educate people just like you are. And so when I hear about this conversation around data centers, I've been following this really closely. I mentioned, you know, it's always on the top of the fold in the newspaper. And so, you know, I applaud this effort and I'm so glad that you've been able to kind of share this information with everyone. I think there's a lot of clarity now for a lot of folks, but still a lot of questions that will remain.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that every local official needs to recognize is to listen to their realtors because you are forecasting the future, putting us in a proactive position.
Wow, I love that. I love that point that you just made about the realtors. Thanks so much. All right, when we come back, we're going to talk about education, Ted. He's keeping score. We're doing a little game here.
That was a really good point.
Taken. All right. When we come back, we're going to talk about education because you're not only a mayor, but you are a CEO of an educational institution. So we'll talk about that when we come back at 11:41 on WTMJ.
Summer in Milwaukee means a couple of things: Brewers baseball and live music. Get the best of both when the Brewers take on the Rockies June 27th, featuring a post-game concert by Nelly. Then the first 25,000 fans at the game on June 28th get a Pat Murphy Manager of the Year bobblehead, courtesy of Toyota. Get ready for a weekend you'll be talking about all summer. Get your tickets at Brewers.com.
Looking for new floors but tired of the pushy sales pitch? Vince Vitrano here recommending Hunt's Flooring in Greenfield, local family-run business where the team treats you like a neighbor, not a number. It was actually one of my neighbors who recommended Hunt's to me. No pressure, no gimmicks, just honest advice, beautiful flooring, and help every step of the way. From hardwood to pet-friendly carpet, find the perfect fit for your home and budget. Visit the showroom or start your project now at huntsflooring.com. Hunts Flooring. Flooring you'll feel good about.
I know you have a great dog, right? But you know there's room for improvement. At Sit Means Sit Dog Training, we can help. Our attention-based training system uses modern technology to help you better communicate with your dog, even in high distraction. When you schedule a free consultation with us, you will have the opportunity to see our training in action and meet for yourself our happy dogs off leash and under control. Contact Sit Means Sit today at 262-361-3641 or find us on the web at sitmeansitwaukesha.com to schedule your free consultation so you can have a happy, confident, and obedient dog.
Hi, this is Rejuvenex founder Richard Salinas. And you know, I'm a consumer just like you. And my ears perk up for pain relief messages just like you. But some of these ads...
Since I started taking this natural supplement, within weeks, my pain is completely gone.
I mean, come on. Give me a break. The truth is, there are imbalances in your body causing your pain. And there's physical therapy, which we are highly skilled at, that can improve imbalances. And there are alternative pain solutions. But not all of them are proven, safe, effective, or affordable. At Rejuvenex, the effectiveness of Toradol joined with hyaluronic acid has been proven. Our treatments are affordable, FDA approved, safe, and they're powerful medicines. They calm inflammation and cushion joints, and they can make your pain go away. Go to rejuvenex.com to request your free pain evaluation.
$1 doesn't buy much unless you're spending it at Griffin. For just $1 over cost, you can buy brand new tires from us. This is Jim Griffin. Any major brand, $1 over our cost with free tire repair and lifetime rotation. We'll even show you the invoice to prove it. Our only requirements, we put them on for you. Buy one or the whole set. The dollar deal from Griffin. Milwaukee, Waukesha, Fort Atkinson, and Jefferson. Griffin. The buck stops here. The deals on tires don't. That's Griffin.
Not combinable with other tire offers.
Get started with your no-hassle refi checkup by clicking on the blue button at Accunet.com.
Welcome back to Point Taken on WTMJ. Should we tell them what our game is, Mayor?
Yeah, I'm keeping data on which of us says point taken or good point the most, and Tracy's losing. It's 4-1 me. But again, I'm a middle school teacher by heart, and I stay as a middle school mindset.
So we spent the whole 45 minutes here talking about data centers, but what you do in your day job, and this is something people may not appreciate about elected leaders, especially local elected leaders, is that you have a full-time day job as well.
Mm-hmm.
And you are the CEO of CESA 6, correct?
Yep.
And you're a teacher, you've been a principal, and now you're, in this role at CESA 6. So what have you seen change around the education landscape? And is Wisconsin behind? Are we right on track? What's happening there?
So that's a great question because, like you said, in my roles as a teacher, principal, superintendent of schools, I'd put Wisconsin up against anybody.
You're an optimist. You said that before.
Yeah, I mean, Wisconsin has an incredible, we have an incredible education network all the way from, our parochial schools, private schools, public schools, our university system. I mean, it can't be beat. And I think the greatest thing that's happened in the last 20 years is the evolution of our school systems, especially our public school systems, into the recognition that one of the sole responsibilities is to create great citizens who then contribute to their community through service and then economic impact, because that's the only way you survive. And when you go around the school, I mean, I can take you to amazing schools around the state of Wisconsin, around the city of Milwaukee, Ozaukee, Washington, Waukesha County, Racine. What we're doing in public schools right now, again, we'll put it against anybody. Now, people will say, well, but the data says, or the reading is this or that. But our product at the end is different. And I firmly believe this in my heart, is that in Wisconsin, when you graduate from one of our high schools, that diploma is not a receipt of your journey. It's a ticket to the future. And a Wisconsin kid has an advantage, not only in Wisconsin, but in the workplace. And when we were visiting with, these different groups who wanted to come to us, one of the things they said right away was about our school systems, the consistencies of it, all the different things that we offer. And locally, everybody's pivoting to be a greater part of their community. And again, I'm sure I'll take a lot of heat for what I just said from certain people, but It's not about me. It's about what's actually happening out there. And I mean, parents love their schools, and it's the funding we fight about. It's the politics. It's always the adults that are getting in arguments about what's going on in there. But at the end of the day, our children go to some pretty amazing schools in the state of Wisconsin.
Yeah, we do spend a lot of time really focusing on the negative information, but as somebody on the ground and somebody who has served as a principal at the middle school that I attended, by the way, not at the same time, Badger Middle School.
Yeah, had I known, I would have gone and grabbed one of the yearbooks and brought that photo.
Oh my gosh, please don't do that. Although I think it's changed. It's like 7th and 8th grade now. And it used to
It is. It's like a junior middle school for high school preparation.
Oh, so the constant evolution. But you mentioned the school funding model, and I think that's really where a lot of people get discouraged. Is we're always fighting about the funding. If we only had more funding, if we only had a better funding model, how do you look at that with both your educator hat and your elected leader hat?
Yeah. So thank you for that question. It's a great question, and I'm going to make a great point, and that is. So first of all, Speaker Voss a few years ago had started a Blue Ribbon Funding Commission, and I was fortunate enough to sit on that, travel around the state of Wisconsin, learn about funding in the state of Wisconsin. And basically one of the findings of the Blue Ribbon Commission report was we have a really good funding formula. The problem is how we fund that formula. And one of the things that, Wisconsin has declining enrollment. We've got less kids, but we have more costs. And where our funding formula could change, because the budget just came out. It'll be good. It'll be good. I'm optimistic. It'll be good for special ed, fund transfers, stuff like that, all the things that we know about.
If it gets passed, that's what we're working on, right?
If it gets passed, yeah. And there's always work to be done there, right? The arguments to be made. At the end of the day, where public education has a gap is that we have a 13-year product production line. So lots of people will come in and they'll be like, if you just ran the place like a business. Well, we do. I mean, some of these school districts, $100, $200 million budgets. They're not spending and wasting money. The difference for us is that our funding from the day a child starts in early childhood, four-year-old kindergarten to 12th grade, that child goes through at least 6 biennial budget cycles. And it's not consistent for them.
Right.
And we've tried to tie it to CPI indicators. We've tried to do 2/3 funding models. Now, the problem is that our economy shifts all of the time, and funding is based upon the economy's success. And schools, I believe, in my heart, their leaders are doing really great things, being really, really creative to do the most with what they can. But in the end, that's what forces us to go to referendums, is when there are those pinch points that come up. You can't proactively save to build buildings and maintain your buildings because your funding is literally spent on exactly what you did last year. So the cost to continue for public education and education in general is higher than most other sectors for the simple reason that we literally buy everything.
Well, I have a real quick question about that. You mentioned referendum, but there's also that conversation about the levy limits. Obviously, as a local leader, you're very familiar with that. So do we approach this in the right way by holding the line on levy limits and going to referendum for things like schools, emergency services, which successfully passed in your community just over the past year and a half?
Yeah, so this goes back to local control for me. Small government, like what are we doing? Right? We don't trust the locals because their levies are all over the place. It's hard to attract business. And some of that's antiquated thinking, and some of it's understandable. And sometimes we approach small communities by, all cities in the state or all municipalities will maintain these levy limits because we want to control other areas. At the end of the day, the city of Port Washington and other communities our size with levy limits have an unfair advantage in being able to sustain our infrastructures. Mm-hmm. And that's why a lot of the times, we have too many lead connections. We have too many of this because we can't proactively 1 year, tax or levy for a little extra money to take care of an issue. While at the same time, I completely understand the state's perspective of, well, we can't just have you all taxing whatever you want because we can't attract or retain people.
Always trying to balance.
It's the constant balance argument and how we spend it and what we do. But I really believe, there are more elected school board members in the United States than any other body. And that's followed only by village boards and city councils. The least amount of elected officials in the country are 100 U.S. senators, and they make the biggest decisions.
Interesting point, Mayor Knightsky. All right, we are going to wrap the show when we come back. After the break, it's 11:52 on WTMJ.
Are you living with dry AMD? If so, you could be on the road to geographic atrophy, or GA, a condition that leads to retinal cell death and permanent vision loss. But with iSurvey, you can
slow it down. get it going slower.
Izervay slows GA progression by targeting a key source of retinal cell death, which may help preserve your vision longer. Izervay, or Avastin Captid Pagel, is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com. Paid for by Astellas Pharma.
Do you want the economy mulch or the premium? The only real difference is that the premium mulch has thicker strands, while the economy mulch is finer. But the colorant we use for both is of the highest quality, and that's why the color of our mulch lasts longer. And our mulch comes from trees, not pallets, and we process it all in-house. That's why our prices are so low. Erickson's Landscape Supply, high-quality mulch and stone for a whole lot less. Commercial or residential, visit ericksonslandscapesupply.com to see our entire selection. At Erickson's Landscape Supply, we have durable, maintenance-free polywood patio furniture and #1 grade treated natural pine Amish-made patio furniture. And we also have a wonderful assortment of concrete benches, statues, and fountains available in a selection you just gotta see to believe. Erickson's Landscape Supply, high-quality mulch and stone for a whole lot less, plus a whole lot more. Commercial or residential, visit ericksonslandscapesupply.com to see our entire selection or stop on in today.
Here's to experiencing it all this summer in Wisconsin. Every deliciously cheesy, rockin', magical, fireworks-filled, festival-loving moment. There's Cheese Curd Fest in Ellsworth, Strawberry Fest in Cedarburg, Festival of the Arts in Stevens Point, and the Renaissance Fair in Bristol, Honor the Earth Powwow in Hayward, Mile of Music in Appleton, Venetian Fest, Bratfest, Summerfest. So many fests for your whole crew. Find them all at travelwisconsin.com.
Join the free smoothie party at Tropical Smoothie Cafe on Saturday, June 21st for National Smoothie Day. Tropic Rewards members get a free smoothie with bowl or food purchase. Terms and conditions apply.
Hey, it's Vince Vitrano from Wisconsin's Morning News. It's baseball season, which means Brewers 360 is back every day at 8:40. Sponsored by Outdoor Living Unlimited. Every day, all season long, we're joined exclusively by Brewers guests, including manager Pat Murphy and more. So Murphy, as we're wrapping up our interview.
Great talking. We really enjoyed it, okay?
I was like, you did? Is he just in a good mood, or what'd y'all do to Murph?
Brewers 360 is sponsored by Outdoor Living Unlimited and Big Fish Contracting. WTMJ, W277CV, and WKTI HD2 Milwaukee from the Annex Wealth Management Studios. This is News Radio WTMJ, a Good Karma brand station.
Welcome back on Point Taken. I have been pushing this clock all day long. Thanks, Jazz, for putting up with me. Just so much to talk about. All right, we have 50 seconds. Mayor Knightsky, thank you so much for your time today. But quick question, all right? We share a love of music.
Yeah.
All right, what concert are you looking forward to most this summer?
Oh, this summer. Well, it's going to be tomorrow, Summerfest. You know, growing up in Port Washington, taking the bus down there. So tomorrow I'm going to go see Good Neighbors, or Good Neighborhood, Ben Rector and James Taylor with my daughter.
Oh,
I'm going to spend a little Summerfest day with my college daughter.
That's awesome. Well, James, I saw him a couple of years ago, and I think it's great that you're going to see him. I'm not sure how many more concerts he's going to do,
That's
right?
where we're going.
I mean, boy, there's so many artists that I wish I would have seen.
But tonight, Tracy, I will be at Inventors Pub in downtown Port Washington, which everyone should go to see some live music, drink some locally crafted beer, and support my community, which all of you need to do a better job of.
All right. So the city of Port Washington will be writing me a big check for all of this, right?
Well, yeah. We'll get you some Fish Day tickets.
I'm just kidding. All right. Thanks for your time. Thanks all for listening. Mayor Knightsky, I appreciate your time, and thanks for your great work, not only in the city of Port Washington, but across the state. Steve and Kristen will be back next week. I think, Kristen, on Monday. Thanks for joining us. Have a great weekend,
great
everyone.
Great points today, Tracy, and thank you for having me.
Thanks for being on Point Taken.
Hi, I'm Eric Brown, owner of Outdoor Living Unlimited. Outdoor Living Unlimited recently completed an amazing project. Imagine a backyard with a beautiful deck, automated pergola, and an outdoor kitchen with an amazing outdoor fireplace as its focal point, creating that $1 million feeling every time you relax. Look